Today, we're going to talk about something really profound, a feeling that a lot of us have as we get older, the sense that the past isn't quite as settled as we thought. Now, if you're feeling this, you're not stuck. It's actually a very sophisticated process your brain kicks off to find a final, deeper meaning in your life story. So, let's get into it.
The most unsettling realization of your 60s isn't that time is running out, but that several finished chapters of your life suddenly feel as though they were never actually resolved. If that hits home for you, you are absolutely not alone. Think about it. An old career, a marriage that ended, a friendship that just sort of fizzled out. These chapters can bubble back up, not to haunt you, but because your mind is finally ready to give them one last, meaningful look.
So here's our roadmap for today. First, we'll look at an unfinished past to figure out why this is all happening now. Then, we'll dive into the biology with your brain's neurological audit. After that, we'll get into how you can take charge with authoring your own story, and I'll give you some practical tools in the narrative synthesis protocol. Finally, we'll talk about the wisdom of looking back and how to claim the peace you have earned.
Okay, let's dive in. Why is this happening now? Why do these memories, these feelings, suddenly come up with so much force after decades have passed? Well, the most important thing to know is this is not a sign that you're going backward or that it's some kind of personal failing. It's actually a predictable, and I'd even say necessary, stage of your development. And your mind is now, finally, uniquely equipped to handle it.
This whole process, it has a name: Retroactive Resolution. See, you're not just stewing over old choices. Your brain is actively trying to pull together decades of information into one coherent story of who you are. Life course sociology tells us that our brains often just don't have the emotional setup to really close a chapter until we get to a certain level of what's called crystallized intelligence. That's the wisdom and all the knowledge you've gathered over a lifetime, which really blossoms after 60. Your brain is finally ready to put the period at the end of some very, very long sentences.
Now, what's really fascinating here is that this isn't just some psychological whim. It's a biological mandate. I want you to think of it like a sophisticated neurological audit. It's like your brain has decided, for very specific reasons, that it's time to review the books and make sense of the whole journey.
The famous psychologist Erik Erikson actually identified this. He called it the final stage of our psychosocial development: integrity versus despair. It's a fundamental drive, literally hardwired into us, to look back on our lives and integrate everything, the good, the bad, the confusing, into a whole that makes sense. Achieving this sense of integrity is mandatory, not optional for healthy aging. It's your brain's final great project.
So why does this audit happen now? Well, for most of our adult lives, we're just surrounded by this high-intensity noise, right? The constant demands of a career, the urgent needs of raising a family. Our focus is almost totally external. But after 60, a lot of that noise starts to quiet down. And in that new, quiet space, our internal story, our narrative, finally has the room to speak up and demand to be heard. Now, during this audit, you might experience something called narrative fragility. This is when your brain starts to prioritize healing the emotion over getting the facts exactly right. It's the reason why a conflict from 30 years ago can suddenly feel as raw and painful as if it happened yesterday. I want to be clear, this is not a sign of weakness. It's a sign that your brain is laser-focused on healing the emotional heart of the memory.
And hey, don't just take my word for it. This is backed by solid science. The National Institute on Aging has confirmed that this life review is a vital cognitive process. Seriously, engaging with your past like this actually builds mental strength and what scientists call cognitive reserve, which is your brain's ability to stay resilient as you age. So this process isn't just about feeling better, it's literally making your brain stronger.
Okay, so understanding the why is so important, but now let's shift to the how. How do we take this natural process and actually steer it towards strength and peace? Well, it all starts with a shift in perspective, moving from feeling like a survivor of your past to becoming the sovereign author of your own story.
This brings us to a really crucial difference. On one side, you have chronological completion. That's passive. A job ends, you move, time goes by, the chapter's over on the calendar. But on the other side, there's emotional integration. And that's an active process. This is when a chapter truly ends because you have consciously decided what it means for your life. You see, closure isn't something that was supposed to happen way back then. It's a developmental task for you right now.
This, right here, is the core lesson. You are not just a character in your life story being pushed around by fate. You are the sovereign author. You hold the pen. You have the unique power to write the final summary of each chapter, to decide what it all meant. And this isn't about rewriting history. It's about finalizing the script with the wisdom that your younger self just couldn't possibly have had.
This is what we call psychological sovereignty. It's recognizing that you, and only you, have the authority to decide what your past means. It's the act of transforming that heavy backpack of old emotions and regrets into a genuine source of wisdom. This shift ensures your past becomes a resource, not a cage, and it builds the resilience you need for a really vibrant future.
So how do we actually do this? How do we practice this psychological sovereignty? Let's get to the really practical part. We're going to walk through a 4-step framework, a toolkit designed specifically to help you get that emotional closure. We call it the Narrative Synthesis Protocol. Now, these 4 steps aren't just abstract ideas. Think of them as neurological filing systems. They're logical, actionable tools designed to work with your brain's natural process. They help calm down the emotional parts of your brain and guide your review toward a peaceful ending. Let's break them down. First up, step 1 is the Compassionate Audit. Just pick one memory that feels unfinished. Now, here's the key. Instead of just reliving what you did, I want you to act like a historian. Write down 3 external factors that were at play at the time. For instance, did you make a career choice based on the economic reality of the day? Were you parenting with the best advice that was available back then? Were you under a ton of personal or financial stress? This isn't about making excuses, it's about shifting the frame from personal failure to contextual reality. It gives your brain permission to let go of that self-blame. Step 2, physical symbolism. Okay, so our logical brain gets it when something is over. But our emotional brain, the limbic system, it responds much more powerfully to things we can actually see and do. So, if you're wrestling with a chapter involving someone you can't talk to anymore, write them a final, unfiltered letter. Get it all out. Then, perform a physical act of closure. Safely burn it, shred it, tear it into tiny pieces. This symbolic act gives your brain a powerful visual stop. It's a clear, physical signal to your whole nervous system that this conversation is finally over. The chapter is sealed.
Step 3 is maybe the most powerful tool of all, the 20-year rule. When you're thinking about something you did in the past, just stop and ask yourself this question. If this was a scene in a novel I was reading, how would I feel about the character who did this? And don't use the word I. Use your name or he or she. So instead of, I should never have taken that job, you might try, John took that job because he was trying to provide for his family. This little trick, it's called self-distancing, and it immediately lowers the emotional temperature. It helps you look at the memory with the kind of compassion and logic you would easily give to a friend or even a stranger.
And finally, step 4 is generative reframing. I want you to identify one positive skill or strength you gained from even the toughest chapters of your life. Did a painful experience make you more resilient, more compassionate, more independent? Whatever that skill is, find a small way to consciously use it this week. This one simple act fundamentally redeems the experience. It turns a painful memory from a source of regret into a source of strength you can use today. It's the ultimate signal to your brain that the lesson has been learned, and that chapter is now officially closed and filed away as wisdom. As we start to wrap up, it's so important that we see this entire experience for what it truly is. Looking back with these new tools isn't about digging up old pain. It is a profound act of self-awareness. It's a sign of incredible strength. Let me be absolutely clear on this. If you are doing this work, if you are re-examining your past, it is not a sign that you are falling apart. It is definitive proof of high emotional intelligence. It's a sign that you are, in fact, coming together. You're integrating all the different pieces of your life's journey into a complete, coherent whole. And research actually shows that people who do this kind of life review report much higher life satisfaction and lower levels of anxiety. I want you to think about this for a second. You have navigated decades of complex trials. You have lived through economic changes, personal losses, massive shifts in technology. You are, by definition, a master of adaptation. This final task of getting your story straight is simply the capstone project for a life that has been fully lived. And that brings us to our final section, the peace you have earned. We've talked about the why, the what, and the how. Now it's all about putting one small piece of this into action today, so you can start to feel that shift right away. So here's your challenge. It's simple, it's gentle. In the next 24 hours, just pick one, just one, lingering what if or regret that's been on your mind, and apply the 20-year rule. Think of that younger version of you as a character in a story. Look at them with the same compassion and understanding you'd give to a stranger. Because when you forgive the character in your past, you set the author in your present free.
Because at the end of the day, closure is a gift you give to yourself. It's not something you wait for the world to give you. You are the manager of your own story. So finalize the meeting, seal the chapter, and lead your life with the peace that you have so deeply and truly earned. Thank you for joining me.